Well, hello, everyone. Hello, hello. And welcome to Satsang. So good to have you all here today. Oh, look, 19 people already. And that's why I decided to play a little bit of music in the beginning. I'm assuming you can all hear me quite well. This is been Thanks to all the generous donations I have received, I have been able to finally upgrade my computer equipment, my sound equipment. So we should have some nice, stable sound today. It should be nice and easy to see. I have a beautiful background behind me. This is sitting on the deck of my new home that I am renting. I don't own it. I haven't owned a home in quite a while. So I called this one. I gave this satsang a name in honor of Mother's Day. I was thinking about, well, what can I do to kind of bring that theme into satsang? And obviously, our human mothers are very important to us. They're the biggest influence in our life. You start your life out as basically a part of your mother's body. Actually, as time goes on, the shade will overtake me. I didn't want to be too much in the sun. Hopefully, you can see me well enough. Um, anyway, but for better or for ill, our mothers are the most profound influence on us. We get our first sense of love, our sense of whether or not we're accepted in the world, whether we're going to be whether we're going to regard the world as benevolent or as antagonistic. In the Heart Sutra, it represents, it makes the most wonderful statement. It calls prajna paramita. Prajna paramita is a Sanskrit term which means the wisdom that takes you to the other side. And it says of the prajna paramita, it said all Buddhas take refuge in the prajna paramita. It is the mother, the womb of all Buddhas. All Buddhas, of course, includes you. You may not know that yet, but it does. What makes a Buddha? What makes a sage? What makes a great seer? Someone who not only knows what the truth is, but fully embodies it in their lives. Their lives, in fact, is the manifestation of it. The sage isn't somebody who possesses wisdom. The sage is wisdom appearing as a human being. That's what a Buddha is. The Buddhas, the sages, the saints, the Christs, the Krishnas, they all draw their character, their attributes from the ultimate wisdom, the mother of all Buddhas. And that wisdom is the direct knowing, the direct understanding of your own being. It's not something you attain. It's not something that you get, right? It isn't the result of a process. It's, there's no checklists for it. It doesn't come as a result of anything. It's completely outside the realm of cause and effect. Matter of fact, it was seeing outside the realm of cause and effect that seeing was the moment of Siddhartha's enlightenment, and he became the Buddha in that moment. So awakening to your true nature is not an attainment, it's not an accomplishment, it's not the result of any process, which is startling, because most spirituality is about process. We're going to meditate, we're going to inquire, all of these things. But all of those spiritual processes, what they serve, the purpose they serve, is to simply bring your attention to what has always been here. And then you discover that you haven't attained anything, that the great enlightenment is in fact the loss of what isn't true. There's a Zen saying that says, don't seek enlightenment, just drop your opinions, which I think is which is an extraordinary way of putting it, and right to the point. But I love the fact that it is the phrase, the mother of all Buddhas. Because there's a tendency in non-dual circles to be very heady. Even the word, pure consciousness or awareness can sound very clinical. It doesn't have the stuff of the heart. But when you see it as something deep within you that is nourishing and nurturing, that it is the great heart, not just the great mind, that it is the mother of wisdom and not just the wise, it gives it a completely different flavor, one that touches our hearts. Those of you just joining, thank you very much. Please just say hello and where you're from. Especially if you're new, please let me know if this is maybe one of your first times at a satsang or one of my meditations. And like and share. Hit those little like and share buttons. It doesn't cost anything. Doesn't take much, and it really does help to bring people into what, as far as I'm concerned, is the most important conversation going on the planet. Who are you? Who are you really? In the Asian, in the Chinese language, the Chinese calligraphy, the symbol for heart and the symbol for mind are the same symbol. In the West, we have divided them up. We have kind of categorized and separated things. We do that stuff in the West. That's kind of the way the Western mind works. But in Asia, the most revered of all of the gods and goddesses is the goddess Kuan Yin in China. It's Kwanum in Korea. It's Kanon in, I forget now, it's Kanzion. And it's a goddess, and she is both the goddess of wisdom and of compassion. She represents the mother of all Buddhas, the ultimate wisdom that takes you to the other side being total transcendence, the Prajnaparamita mantra, which is gone beyond, gone totally beyond. And that doesn't mean some weird dimension somewhere, some strange place, some heavenly place, or not even nirvana. It means you've simply gone beyond identifying yourself with anything. You're just you. Just you. You without a second. Incomparable, indivisible, irreducible you. It's what you actually already are. And Buddha refers to it as the personal realization of Buddha knowledge, which I think is the most sweet and touching way of putting it. It's not clinical. It's not esoteric. It's not, there's nobody here. There's nothing to do. No one gets anywhere. It's much more real, visceral, palpable. That's what the Buddha is. The word Buddha is a Sanskrit word that simply means the awakened one. Not somebody who is awakened, but the one that has awakened to itself. As I said before, the sage or the Buddha or the prophet is not someone with wisdom. It is the transcendent wisdom appearing as a person. There's no person there. It's just appearing in form. But it's not an attribute or a possession of someone. Right? There's no someone there. There's just the presence of wisdom. And that wisdom, the wisdom that takes you to the other side, is the insight that it's simply yourself. It's simply you. You completely unmixed with anything else. That's the great secret. That is the great uh, insight, right? That actually does go beyond all categorizations, all definitions, all identification. The human life is still there, but somebody very different is living it. You live life not as a person, but as presence. You are simply presence. Someone asks you who you are, the, the, the most accurate answer is nothing perceivable or conceivable, nothing in particular. I just am. And that wisdom, I love depicting it as the mother of all Buddhas because it has this feminine awe to it, this feminine nurturing, compassion, openness, acceptance, unconditional love, as opposed to the to the more strict and precise wisdom of the masculine. It is the wisdom of the feminine, which includes the masculine. In From traditions, in terms of traditions and teaching, the twofold path, the wisdom side is represented by Vedanta, the kind of inquiry that we'll be doing today into the who are you really, just going beyond the mind and the emotions, the sensations, all of experience, to the very to whatever happens to be left, just cutting away, cutting away, cutting away. Wisdom is that two-edged sword that cuts away everything that isn't you. The other path is the path of Tantra. That is the embodiment, the living of that truth in the human life. Vedanta has been kind of reduced to the Neo-Advaita, there's nobody here, there's nothing to do, that sort of thing. Um, uh, and Tantra has been reduced to basically, good sex, which it is, by the way, but it's a very small part of it. What it is the embodiment in human life of the divine. So the divine gets made manifest as the human. It makes everything divine. The water gets turned into wine. So even the most mundane human activities become just bathed in this wisdom, in this love, which is the perfume of the absolute. So on that note, again, thank you all for joining. If you haven't yet typed in there where you're listening from, and if this is the first time joining, by all means do. And don't forget to hit that like and share button. So let me go back and just say hello to people. John from Ireland. Hi, John. Liza out on the East Coast. Ola G. Ola Liza. Patty D. Hi from Ontario, Canada. David from Fall River, Massachusetts. My good friends David and Elaine in southeast England, blustery southeast England. Isn't it like that a lot there? Ava, my dear Ava in Poland. Namaste G, my great master. Thanks for getting the equipment shown during the meditation center. And hello, everybody. My feeling is we all constitute a wonderful sangha here. Love you all. Yes, Ava. And when I did the meditation earlier, I had a second camera, so I actually showed everyone the new equipment that you can't see because it's on the other side of the camera, and I don't dare pick it up because I'm in the middle of the thing. But thanks to the generous donations of folks, I was able to absorb my computer crashing, and I had to get a new one and upgrade the audio so it would be more dependable and give me more flexibility as well. So thanks, Ava. Brian in Virginia. Hey to you, buddy. Mary Sykes, hi GP, thank you for making my Mother's Day great. Happy Mother's Day to you, Mary. Happy Mother's Day to every mother on this in Satsang today. So good, so good, so good, so good. Ursula in Madeira Island, Portugal, Rosario in Spain. Thank you, GP, for your love and your time. You're more than welcome. I love doing this. I can't get enough of it. I'd do it all day long if I could. Anja, hello from Germany. Hello, Anja. Oh, hi. Thank you, love, all from Israel. I would love to say your name, but you actually wrote it in. I guess that's Yiddish or Israeli. I'm not sure. They may be the same. I'm not being Jewish. I'm not that familiar with it, but can't pronounce your name. Or I wish I could. John Watson in Glasgow, Scotland. Robert in southern Nevada. I think you're in Henderson, aren't you, Robert? Yeah. Jeff, hello. GP, thanks for being here and now. Thank you, Jeff. Still digging those Hummers. Brian. Hi, Brian. Anna Maria, hi from Poland. Russell Baxter from Durban, South Africa. Hi, Russell. I think I've seen you here once before. I'm so glad you're here. P.S. Postscript says hello. Ann Kaufman, so good to be here with you yet again. Oh, so good to see you, Ann. You've been with me for a long time now. Maribeth Messer from Southern California. Hello, Maribeth. Kieran, hello to you. David Maloney in Ireland. Sophie in, where is Sophie? Oops, questions are beginning to come. Sophie's in the UK. Blessing to be in Satsang. Love Sophie. Isn't it a blessing to be in Satsang? You know, Satsang is simply communing with the truth. Right? We're doing it kind of a formal way here, you know, reserving a period of time when the whole focus of attention is to be present with your own truth. But anytime your attention returns inside to just taste that the sense of being, that pure innocent sense of being, you're in satsang. You're in the presence of truth, because truth is not conceptual. Truth is what you are. Truth is your nature. The truth is the sense of being. So Jeff, beyond the beyond. Yes, that's exactly what the Prajnaparamita mantra means. Gate gate paragate parasangate bodhisvaha. To go beyond. Totally beyond all definitions, all categorizations, all comparisons, all associations, all memories, all anticipations, all thought. Completely beyond all thought. And you find you're still there. What do you call that? That which is left. It's the I, the pure, undiluted, irreducible, indivisible I. The I principle, the creator of the universe. Jay, hello, Jay. Hello, Mother, Father, Guru, and God. Amen. Amen, amen, amen. Anna Meyer, hey, GP, it's really good to see you. Thank you for this talk. You're very welcome, Anna. Glad to have you here. Nazrin in Ireland. Hi, G. Regarding the question, who am I? I'm aware of the feeling and the sensation in my body, but I can't experience being an observer. I'm a little confused. Thank you. Right. Can a finger touch itself? Can the eye see itself? Hey. You're trying to find the observer as an object, right? Something you can look at, experience. But if you're experiencing the observer, well, who's experiencing it? If you're observing this observer, who's observing it? You're on the threshold, Nazarene. You are aware of the feeling. You're aware of the sensations. You're aware even that there's observing going on. But you can't experience the observer because you are the observer. That's the I, the unknowable I. It's not unknowable in the sense that of ignorance. It's unknowable in the sense of a subject-object relationship. You cannot know yourself. You can only be yourself. You cannot see the observer. You can only be the observer. And at that point, all self-image falls away. And what's left? The simple sense of your own being, which, if you look even closely, is itself perceived by that which is the most subtle of all. And that is self-evidently you. So you can drop trying to experience the observer or even being the observer, because you can't experience it. Experience, by definition, is something that you perceive, something that comes and goes. It's an activity. Experience is made of nothing but sensation, emotion, and thought. Those are the three kind of flavors of experiencing. But the experiencer, the ultimate experiencer, is simply you. But it's nothing perceivable. If it's perceivable, I have to ask, well, who's perceiving it? What is perceiving this perceiver? So the ultimate perceiver, which you are, is formless. It doesn't occupy space or time. Timeless, dimensionless, beginningless, endless. It just is. You just are. You are what is. Everything else is an appearance to you, in you, and made of you. But you are the great unknowable center. It's like white light. Pure white light cannot be seen. You have to break it into component parts before it becomes apparent. If you look up in the sky at night, pitch black night with a moon out, the moon is beautiful, illuminating things all over the place. Of course, it has no light of its own. It is reflecting light. And you look and you think that there's light on the moon, but there's no light around it because it's pitch black. Well, there's actually more light around the moon than there is coming from the moon. But you cannot see it because light in its purest form is completely indetectable. It can't be seen. So you, in your purest form, cannot be seen or known or experienced. But are you not every moment of every single day experiencing? So you can turn from trying to be the observer to simply be aware that observing is happening all the time. You couldn't stop it if you tried. You wake up in the morning, you don't have a little machine, you have to, oh, experience, look at that. It's constantly happening. Even in deep sleep at night, you're simply experiencing the absence of all content, and you're still quite there. So the experiencer is you. Just you. You with nothing else added. See if you can just marinate in that a bit, Nazarene, and it will reveal itself to you. But you're right on the edge, dear, right on the edge. Anna Maria's in Seattle, where I just left. Patty D says, I feel that I am, but I'm disappointed that it ends there, and I will keep feeling these human emotions and the entrapment of being in a head. Well, you're in the right place, Patty D. Satsang is what reveals the truth about that. Oh, you continued, even though I believe you when you say I'm not in a head, how do I end this illusion? Ah, very good, very good. Well, I feel that I am. Okay, let's start there. You feel the sense of being, right? Now that sense of being is there. You close your eyes. You isolated yourself in a room and you put away all experience. Right? That very simple sense of I am or being is there, right? It's unmistakable. It's unchanging, right? And if you're not sure about that, then you spend some time with the sense of I am and see if it fluctuates. What appears to it fluctuates. Our experience is constantly fluctuating. It's a flow. Matter of fact, there are no things. There's only a flow. And this is just understood by the way of things. Every object, no matter how solid it is actually just a perception at a certain level of extremely rapidly moving little things that make it up. So everything is a flow. Everything is a constant motion, except you. That sense of I am isn't a flow. It isn't something that is transforming all the time. It's absolutely stable. Now, when something changes in the environment, does your experiencing of it change? This is the subtle point. Remember, the point of spirituality is not to get rid of human emotions and feelings, and even the feeling that you're stuck in a head. Nobody would want to go through life without feeling, right? I mean, that's you go through life without feeling, and you end up becoming a sociopath. That's what happens to the uber. That's the pathology of the uber wealthy. They lose all empathy. They simply cannot feel the suffering of others, and therefore just do horrendously horrible things ignorantly, simply because they've been cut off from feeling. You want to feel, right? Now, of course, what we want to feel is the pleasure all the time. We don't want to feel pain, and that's not possible. Right? If you're going to experience the juice of life, you're going to experience it in total, right? Which means the elation and the grief. Right? That's not what we don't want. What we don't want is suffering, and suffering is psychological. There's nothing in any experience we have that causes us to suffer. It is our resistance to it and our story about it. So there's no need. Spiritual awakening is not you get rid of feelings. They become more intense, in fact, as you awaken. They become deeper. Love becomes deeper. Empathy comes deeper. Beauty can sometimes just be overwhelming. So that's not what we're after here. Right? The sense of I am. Right? What we're after here is to discover the true nature and identity of the one who's having the experience. That is you. So the I am is not an experience you are having. It is the you that is having the experience. You've probably heard me quote this before. I love it, from Nisargadatta, who was my first introduction to Advaita. And someone who was listening to him, I think the man was actually a doctor. He was a very well-educated man, and he said to the master, he said, "Everything you say feels true. It resonates with me. I can see the truth in it." He says, "But to be perfectly honest, I am always experiencing suffering." Nisargadatta unhesitatingly shot back, "No, you are not experiencing suffering. You are suffering your experience." There's no suffering in experience. That is a psychological projection where the mind says, this isn't acceptable, make it go away, doesn't go away, and you experience suffering. Or, I really need that to be happy, you don't have it, so you experience unhappiness, self-generated. So I know I have said before that you're not in your head, you're not in the body. Don't worry about that. Don't turn that into a practice to try to see yourself in the head. That will happen all by itself, automatically, as you come to see that the sense I am is always here. We have, in our minds, we have got this idea that somehow the sense I am comes and goes with experience, and our spiritual practice is about trying to get the sense of I am here and hold on to it. Right? Now, if it was something that came and that could came and went, it couldn't be the real I am, because you'd go with it. Right? You'd be gone. You would, boom, cease to exist if the I am really did go away. The I am is what is experiencing the emotions, the sense of being trapped in a head, which is just a sense. It's not a fact. It's just a sense. It's a habitual way of thinking. It's a habitual way of feeling as well. So the illusion, right, is a result of thinking that you, the one perceiving, is actually coming and going with what's perceived, is subject to the ups and downs of what's perceived. Again, from St. Francis of Assisi, what you are looking for is where you are looking from. Are you following me? The sense I am is always there. That's what's having the experience. You are always there, no matter what's happening, right? No matter, if it's total ecstasy or it's absolute misery, you are there experiencing it. Is there ever a time when you are not there? So the path here to awakening is to realize that you haven't gone anywhere, that we have just mistakenly identified with the flow of experience coming and going, feeling these things coming and going, and thinking somehow they're supposed to not come and go, and then I'm going to be who I am. To whom are all of those emotions appearing? That's the question. Even in the most intense fear or anxiousness, even in the most intense misery, the question can come up. To whom are these appearing? Me. Who am I? Am I caught up in this? Or am I somewhere else entirely? Do that, and don't worry about trying to overcome the illusion of being in the head. It'll just happen by itself, and it's not actually even important. Right? As I started this whole thing, now I was mentioning it this morning during the meditation. The point of this is the alleviation of suffering. You don't need to end that illusion to be free of suffering, but you do have to begin the process of divesting yourself of identification with that which is coming and going, and let the I settle in to that sense I am, which isn't coming and going. That's where you find the happiness that doesn't end. It's just this background noise of contentment. Does that help you, Patty D? How do I let go? Nazarene asks, how do I let go of fear completely? You're not going to like the answer. Completely and totally accept it. That's how you let go. When people say, There's a long time ago when I came in touch with the release technique and the Sedona method, which are all about this releasing. Um, I I had a lot of people coming to me for some spiritual coaching who were just really frustrated. They didn't know what to make of it, and I said, "What do you mean by letting go?" And they thought, "Okay, I'm just going to release this, and it's going to go away." I said, "Well, when you let go of something, it's you just take your hands off, right? It goes, it comes, it has you have nothing to do with, right? So letting go means it doesn't go away. It means you take your hands off of it." Oh, they said. Oh, well, that's really different. Yes, it's really different. How do you let go of fear? You let go of fighting it. If I'm feeling fear in my body and I'm resisting it, I'm suffering. I'm pushing it away. I'm trying to get it to go. And of course, the fear may be in your body to try to get your attention. And you're trying to make it be quiet. It's just going to get louder because it thinks there's something to be afraid of. You're dealing with a very intelligent mechanism here, right? So you simply let go of your resistance to it and you're just feeling it. Ah, there it is. Now, if you can be with the sensations in the body of fear without any story, right? Oh, this is bad. Oh, something I got. The mind can begin to spin out of control, which can intensify the fear. Um, so you just put the mind in abeyance. You let go of that too. We don't need you right now. And you just be with the sensation with no story. And one of two things will happen. The fear will either reveal to you what it is afraid of, and it could be something, from your childhood, right? It could be something from a past life. It could be residual energy. I mean, you have no idea necessarily where it came from. Or simply because it has gotten your attention and you're not stimulating it with a story, it just begins to dissipate. In either case, you will be free from suffering. And that, of course, is what the point is. So, we say that you're not going to like my answer. To let go of fear means you let go of it and you let it be there, or you let it go. It either leaves or it stays. It's not up to you. You've let go of it. You have said, I give you complete and total free rein. And there will be a sense of relief just doing that. And you're not going to like this either. You really know when you've let go of something, when you can honestly say, this feeling can stay with me the rest of my life, and that's okay. You've let go at that point. And you'll be surprised. It's not that hard to get to, because the act of letting go itself is the end of resistance. And the end of resistance is the end of suffering, and you'll feel it. And of course, your whole body will feel it as well, which contributes more to the sense of safety, which allows the fear to actually resolve itself, not just be gotten rid of, but to resolve itself. Imagine, if you go talk to somebody, right? You want to tell somebody about something. Maybe it's something really urgent to you, something that's really important, right? And they won't listen to you. They just keep, no, go away, go away, go away. But you gotta tell them, right? Maybe if it's even important for them that, hey, look, there's a lion right over there, right? He's hungry, he's coming at us. And they go away, I don't want to listen to you. I don't want to listen to you. No, really, right? right? You'd get more intense because you think there's something important that has to be said. Right? Well, that's what this energy is all about. Your nervous system doesn't generate fear for fun. It 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 actually believes there's something to be afraid of, and so it needs attention. It can even become an object of meditation. Buddha even said that in meditation, if just by going into that completely empty space, the fear doesn't dissolve, then make fear the object of your meditation. Bring that completely in. Hands off, right? Complete and total acceptance and allowing and attention. And watch the miracle happen. So, thank you, Nazrin. Is it Nazarene or Nazarene? Trying to think of it with an Irish accent. It'd be Nazarene. Nazarene. Oh, I got to get to Ireland. Hello, GP. Hello, Eli. Eli, my man, at Appleton, Wisconsin. Gunnar Lundstrom. Hello, Gunnar. I Ioannis, Greece. Thank you for being there, GP. With love from Greece. I've been following you for years, but never used the chat. Oh, well, welcome to the chat. If you have a question, by all means, lay it on me. That's why I'm here. Maria, hello, GP. I'm listening in London. Wonderful. Following you for years. Also, and don't often get to hear you live. So great to have this space in this time. Thank you. Oh, wonderful. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I so want to come to Europe and do live satsangs. I so want to do that. There's just been pulling me and pulling me and pulling me, and I've just not known how to known how to make it happen. So maybe at some point there'll be a bunch of people who really know how to organize things and get people in a room that will help me out. Because I have you can see I have so many people in Europe, and it's one of the places I've really wanted to live. Although, what can I say? This is pretty spectacular. Anna Meyer. Hello, Anna. I think the word you is confused with the ego. I think what you mean maybe is the internal, never-changing part inside that is always present, but not the ego you, but the ever-present observer. Yes, and I use the word me and you on purpose because that's really you, right? I want to bring it home and not make it something abstract like the observer or pure consciousness. It can sound very clinical. The street name of the self is me. Me, I'm the observer. You're the observer, right? Yes, in common usage. And what has gotten us confused is I, me, myself, or you, in the case talking to somebody else, has become confused with the self-image created by the nervous system, and that's the ego. So when you use the word I, the habit is to think that I is referring to the person, the self-image, the self-portrait, right? And because of that, that's the whole sense of identification. When you, consciousness, the actual observer, identifies I as what is being observed, in that moment, the ego is created. It doesn't have a life, right? And it doesn't even have, it's not even real. In that moment, your belief in that I as someone brings the person or the ego into existence. You believe it into existence. But the reality is the I is and always has been the ever-present observer. So when I'm talking about these things or I do a meditation, I'm withdrawing the sense of I out of thought, out of all experience, thought, emotion, and sensation, into just the sense of I am prior to it having identified with any thought or form. Then you can take the final step backwards and seeing even the sense I am is being observed by something completely imperceivable. And that something is self-evidently me. And I like the word me. I keep using words me and you because it's funny. It's personal without being a person. It's intimate without being two, right? It's not a oneness that is sterile. It is a oneness that is a not two-ness, right? So there's intimacy and love and community and family and sharing and interdependence, all of that. But all of it has at its essence this one uh, indefinable me. But notice I make it me, right? It's not, I can refer to mother or I could talk about mom or mama, right? Big difference. I can refer to God, or I can refer to Papa, my father, right? I mean, Christ referred to God as my father. Now, that in and of itself was blasphemy for proper people. No, he's God, right? This great separation. And you can feel this tenderness, right? Right. If he'd lived now, he would have equally said mother. He couldn't say mother at that particular time because God was male to those people. Um, but they also would not refer to Father. What was the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, right? Uh, and I think even one point, it was St. Paul said, we cry Abba, Father. And Abba it was like Papa. It was very, very, it was a term of endearment. It was not formal, right? So when I say that word, you, I'm, the confusion is the way we've been taught, and the habit of identification, which is what we all suffer from, right, is confused with the person, which that identifying with what is nothing but a functioning of the nervous system, projecting upon it a person, gives rise to the ego, or the false sense of self, the imaginary self, or simply the person, right? But I'm not going to refer to it as just the ever-present observer. The ever-present observer is you, right? I bring it home and make it visceral. It is not an abstraction. It is you. It is the one who is seeing. The one who is observing is self-evidently you. So, how's that? Uh, how's that, Anna? Um, I really, I keep pounding that home so that this doesn't become neo-Advaita and abstract, right? Yes, I'm pure consciousness. Om mani padme hum mani. It's that is true. You are. I am pure consciousness. Now it's real, right? Now it's in the heart. It's not just here. It's in the heart. And when you take that into the heart, it will thump, that energy will just permeate and colonize the entire nervous system until all residual identification with the person is gone, which means the ego is gone. There's no ego anymore, because it was just an idea anyway, and not a very good one. John, hi GP. While knowing that I am the seer, I struggle to understand that what I see is consciousness also. Did you continue it here somewhere? Let me make sure that I got it all here. Also, dot dot. There's a dot dot dot. So I'm thinking there's more here somewhere. Oh, Nazarene. I live in Ireland, but I was born in Tehran, and she just donated to me. Thank you. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps the lights on here. So I don't see I see a dot dot dot, John, but I don't see anything additional. So I'll just take okay. I struggle to understand that what I see is consciousness. Okay, good. So don't struggle with that. This is one of the problems that arises with having so much access to non-dual information, is that we can get really scared. It's all conscious. All is consciousness. Data consciousness, and we can get very, very confused. When I work with people one-on-one, we kind of narrow. We go, okay, this is what you put your attention on. Forget about the rest of that, right? When you're learning anything, when I was a musician, I was incapable of figuring out how to teach myself. I needed people to show me, right? Because I would study the wrong things. I would learn to play the wrong things. I'd get the wrong technique. I'd get scattered. What do you learn? We need teachers, right? That's the problem with, YouTube, is that there's just a plethora. There's so much information. It's a glut, right? But there's no teaching. which is why when you listen to good teachers like my teacher, Mooji, he just keeps hammering home the same point over and over again. Now, you'll watch him as he works with different people at different levels of experience, but there's nothing better than just getting it directly, right? Well, where do I need to focus attention, right? So, while knowing that I am the seer, right, I struggle to understand that what I see is consciousness. All right, so don't struggle to see that. Instead, keep deepening your sense of being the seer. Just keep following that, right? Now, that the way to do that is the question Mooji uses, which is absolutely perfect, and it's a koan. It's something that you just can't answer with the mind. I know I'm the seer. Okay. Can the seer be seen? Can you see yourself? Right? If you can, then who's looking at that? And if you can't, then anything you see cannot be you. And if you take that as your mantra, oh, I'm looking at it, it can't be me. I am the perceiver. If I'm perceiving it, it's not me. That and if you stay with that, it will dissolve all relative knowledge. It'll be the Vedanta. It will be the end of subject-object knowledge till everything will be dispensed with until the only thing left is you. You and only you. You without a second. You and nothing else. So forget about knowing. At that point, you can turn around and go back and say, it's all consciousness. But you don't even have to. It's not that important. It'll happen, right? Right. So focus there. Focus on really coming to see yourself as the ultimate absolute seer. Seer with a capital S. Right? And then see what happens, what transforms in terms of how you see everything else. And it may not even be that you see that everything is conscious and you have the sense of oneness. It may go in a completely different direction. It doesn't matter. Right? But the very fact that you're struggling to do this means don't do it. Don't do it. Instead, who's seeing the struggle? Is the struggle not being perceived? Okay, who's perceiving the struggle? And the one who's struggling, isn't that one also being perceived? The one struggling to understand? I don't really understand. Step back. Isn't that also an activity of mind that is being perceived? Who's perceiving it? How's that, John? I can feel you laughing. David and Elaine. And the non-dual meditations of people like Rupert Spire and yourself are wonderful for pointing us to our true nature. I love Rupert. I hope to meet him someday. We see that although meditation is not an essential for self-realization, it is valued companion in the process of recognition. In the same way, the map of a territory is not the territory, but is a useful thing to have, a damn useful thing to have, actually. Thank God for GPS, right? If we become lost and need to find our way home. Thanks. Yes, you're right. There's no such thing as an absolute prerequisite practice. This was one of the most amazing things in the Heart Sutra, where it was revealed that even the Dharma was empty of self-existence. And the Dharma, of course, in Buddhism is the most sacred, right? The Buddha, the Sangha, and the Dharma. And it was revealed in the Heart Sutra that even the Dharma, even the teachings of the Buddha are empty of self-existence. There isn't any teaching that is an absolute. The only thing absolute is you. And so we'll use inquiry. And the two main things I use are inquiry and meditation. Meditation being the allowing. And meditation I use to bring people to awakening, and I use it after to help integrate it into the system, right? So those are the two approaches that I use mostly, but there's other things I've thrown in there as well, and sometimes it's just therapeutic. So I use something like EFT just to bring relief to suffering, because that's why we're here. That's the most important thing. Relieve a little bit of suffering, and they may get some more. There'll be a little bandwidth then, a little inner space to do some inquiry. So yes, they're a pointer to the true nature, and they're not essential. Nothing is. I'm not. Good God, I'm not essential. Right? There aren't many teachers out there that I regard to be made my short list. Rupert is one of them, because they have this balance between the heart and mind, between the Tantra and Vedanta, which Rupert uses that term as well. I was delighted to hear somebody else use that, Vedanta and Tantra. That this balance between the penetrating aspect of Vedanta and the alive, visceral, feeling life of Tantra, which is why I keep bringing it back to me, right? You are coming to see me. This is self-realization, right? You are realizing who you actually are, right? And that you're not the guy in the dream. So yeah, these are all pointer. Everything's a pointer, right? There's no truth here, right? You're the truth, right? So I point you to you, which is the truth, right? I go over there, right? This way. Come on, over here. Follow my voice. and sometimes it feels so dark, but even in the worst darkness and the worst confusion, you're here. There's always you. There's a you here, a palpable, undeniable sense of myself that is here, right? In meditation, if follow it, you can very quickly step out of that constant engagement with experience, the thought and sensation and emotions and the like, and be in the position of the observer. It's in this position of the observer where attention can begin to turn around all the way to the point where it can't see anything anymore, and you have gone completely beyond where the mind can go. And at this point, you're in the space of pure grace. Knocking at the door, it opens. I've been knocking from the inside. That's Rumi had to say about it. Thanks, David and Elaine. You guys are great. Dave. Hi, G. In healing, you said finding safety is important. However, fear can arise seemingly at random. Even when the environment improves, fear comes up. It seems that there's no predicting it. Yes, that's true. When you create the environment of safety, and I said finding safety, it's not to be found. It's safety is something that you yourself is an environment you yourself create. So you, as the enlightened witness, the infinitely loving parent, are creating the inner space of safety. Now, what happens in that space of safety? Anything can come up, right? Fear can arise seemingly at random. It isn't random, right? There are many, many hidden fears that are down there, that some fears so intense that the nervous system has kept us from even experiencing them. That's the nature of trauma. Trauma is a fear so intense that the nervous system has to simply shut it down, because it can't run and it can't fight, which are the two means by which the energy system discharges that powerful energy, the energy of fight or flight, right? Which is always in response to something that is life-threatening, right? So, in life-threatening situation, right? Normally, what do critters do in the wild? They run, they hightail it, Or if they can't hightail it, they fight, right? Right. Fear is the feeling of the body preparing to flee, and anger is the feeling of the body preparing to fight, right? And they have different kinds of feelings about. They're both really intense, right? Okay, so what if I cannot do either one of those? There's all this energy in the body. It's got to do something, but you can't. You're a little child. You can't get away, and you can't fight. You are powerless. What do? The body contracts. It sucks all of that energy back inside, sticks it somewhere. If it doesn't, you're dead. It's that simple. It That amount of energy will just destroy the system. So the body has developed a very intelligent way of keeping it under wraps. Now that sense of fear, when it does that, it influences the entire energy system's view of the world, view of reality. It draws conclusions about the nature of things, and and those are stored there too. So now you've got these energetic assumptions. You've got this map of a territory that was real when you were little, but is no longer real. So now, now it's in its defensive posture, right? And it assumes the world out there is in a certain way, and so it's always in a certain degree of defensive posture and alertness, right? Now you come along, you take inner reconciliation, you learn the stuff that I've just talked about there, and you begin to do something completely different. Instead of trying to fix yourself or change yourself or do anything, instead, you start complete self-acceptance. You go into the yoga of allowing. You just start allowing feelings to be there instead of fighting with them, including fear. You start creating an environment of safety. And what happens? Because the environment has changed, this stuff starts rumbling, right? The defenses begin to come down and this energy starts to arise. Now, the beautiful thing is, because you're in this creating this place of environment, as this energy arises, you don't have to re-experience the trauma. The energy can actually discharge very intelligently and very harmlessly. So um, the you said that even when the environment improves, fear comes up. Remember, the fear that hasn't come up doesn't know about this environment yet. It's still living in this other environment that hasn't improved. What you're doing by creating this environment of safety is the message is getting through all the way down to the root that the war's over. This environment isn't here anymore. And the stuff then, the defenses come down, the stuff starts beginning to come up. And it can come up in all sorts of ways. And uh, but so hopefully that explains. It's a pretty in-depth actual explanation of how the entire process works. And that's why I call the creation of this inner space of safety and creating the environment in which these things can release inner reconciliation. It's not self-help. You are reconciling with these energies. You're basically charting a course, a loving course back to liberating it, not fixing it, changing it, making it better, scolding it, get rid of it, and reframe it, any of the psychological techniques. You are, in fact, liberating it. So, and there isn't any predicting it. No, you can't predict it. And it may be quite unruly when it pops up, right? Um, it's been suppressed for a very, very long time, right? But what we want it to do is come out the front door. These suppressed energies, they come out sideways all the time. They go out the back door. They come out in things. Where did that come from? Why did I feel? Why do I feel this way? Why did I say that? Why did I react like that? I remember once, God, back in the 90s when I was in a men's group, and it was a wonderful support group. Part of the mythopoetic men's thing, Robert Bly and Sam Keen and these guys, um, Iron John and that kind of stuff. Wonderful, wonderful experience with five other men that I came to just really trust with my life. And once a week we get together and we have meetings, and there'd be personal time in the meeting where you could process stuff, where we could do stuff like this, let some of this stuff come up. right? And it was my turn for sharing, and I was sharing the stuff that was going on with me, and you could ask for feedback, right? You didn't have to, but you could ask for feedback, and I wanted to get some feedback on what I was experiencing. And one of the men said something to me, and I went off like a rocket. I went into a total rage. I was yelling and screaming and that sort of stuff. And a little bit, I calm down, and I look around, and I see all these faces going, right? And I said, "Did you see what he said?" And they said, I said, "Was that all me?" And they went, "I don't know what it was. It was a word he used. Maybe it was an inflection of a word that he used that was my mother." And I just, boom, I just exploded. But I had all these men around to keep a safe container. So you don't know when it's going to come up, but you've got to be the safe container. So when it does, there's no recrimination. There's no attempt to resuppress it. There's no new story being created. There's no new trauma being created. You are in this open vestibule where it just kind of can come up, it can do its thing, and it can discharge, because that's what has to happen. So I hope that covers it for you, David, and anybody else as well. I am going to start selling my Inner Reconciliation series again pretty soon. That was also one of my main sources of income, which I haven't been doing. So, Jay, do we always question what arises and turn the attention back to the source? Well, in the non-dual inquiry, let me kind of draw a distinction between the therapeutic and the pure spiritual inquiry. You don't question what arises, and in the inquiry, you notice that things are. The non-dual inquiry is noticing that whatever is arising, it is appearing to you, and we're more interested in who you are than the nature of what is arising. Now, from a therapeutic point of view, when I'm doing something like EFT, inner reconciliation, that sort of stuff, and stuff comes up, right? Sometimes if it comes up, it can just pass away. It just means that you've released some of the old traumas and stuff going on in the body, and you've just become the nervous system has just become more free, right? So in that case, you may need a little bit more interaction with that energy to truly free it. So one of my primary questions I'll ask to something that's there that isn't just resolving is, what are you protecting me from? This is really good when people are feeling an energy of being stuck or blocked, or they're trying to make something happen in their life, and no matter what you do, it doesn't work, right? There's some energetic block to it. You get in touch with that energy, and you can simply ask, what are you protecting me from? Because that's almost always what it is. The energy system is saying, this won't be good. You can't do that. There's danger there, because at one point in your life, it was. But then going a step beyond that is the deeper question, is, to whom is all this appearing? And becoming more curious about who you are as the one who is experiencing, as opposed to the nature of the experience itself, right, is the step towards the ultimate awakening. That's what I mean by turning attention back to the witness of it, to the observing of it, to you. You're bringing your attention back to you, because when you say the source, you're talking about you, because there's nothing beyond you. There's nothing more essential than I. Everything comes from I. And so I is the source of all things. I know in a lot of kind of pseudo-spiritual things and law of attraction and that kind of stuff, they refer to the source, but it's like something outside of yourself, like the vortex and the spirit and things like that. There's not a sense of that being myself, but yet when the attention turns around to try to see that which is seeing what's arising, you discover you, because it's you that's there. And then the question is, well, who am I? This is me, but who is this? What is this? This is not what I thought I was. And you start divesting that of all the ideas you had about yourself, and little by little, the clarity as to who you are becomes self-evident. That's called self-realization. Did that answer it for you, Jay? Patty, my mother has third-stage brain cancer. If her brain were to take her life in a year from now, would I am still be present? If there is no body, what can I am experience? What a beautiful question. Yes, she is here, but not as a form. The I am creates bodies in order to experience. That's what they're for. And then drops that body, because that's a complete experience. So the I am experiences GP, it experiences Patty, it experiences David, it experiences Sarah, it's having the I am. And aren't we all having the experience of I am? I am this, I am that, I am that. It's the same I am, having an infinite number of experiences. But those experiences were never meant to be permanent. When Ramana Maharshi was close to the end of his life, and it was obvious he was going to be moving on soon. His followers, his attendants, who had been with him for years and years, were very sad. They were grieving. They were crying, and he was looking and going, "What are you crying about? I'm not going anywhere. I am the sense I am in your heart. So your mother is the sense I am in your heart. That's her. That's the reality of her. Don't worry about the form. The forms will come and go, but she will never come and go. The pet you lost, the friend that isn't there anymore, they're still here. They're all still here. And your Patty is going to drop at some point, right? And guess who's here? You. And so that I am is constantly generating forms of self-expression and experience, right? And then getting completely absorbed in the experience, forgetting it's the I am, but that's how it has the experience. It gets into the play. I'm into the movie. I'm into this book, right? Until the book starts coming to an end, or you say, you know what? I'm tired of this book. And then the I am begins to withdraw back into itself. And it starts to remember who it is, starts to come to satsang and ask questions, right? And then satsang reminds, oh yeah, that's right. That's right. It may hit the snooze button a couple of times and go back. Whoop, oh yeah, that's right. And then head on back home. But nothing is lost. Oh dear heart, nothing is ever lost, right? If and when that body goes, she will still be here. You are not your body. The destiny of your body is not your body. Become more and more aware of yourself as the pure witnessing, and the passing of the body will have zero impact on you. It'll be like going through puberty, only a little quicker. and not nearly as disruptive. David says the randomness of this can be, we're referring back to that previous thing, can be disheartening, as if all the inner work is having no effect. Oh, it is having the effect. It is having the effect. It's the inner work that's bringing all of this. It isn't random. It might appear to be random to the mind, which is really struggling to understand what's happening, because all of this is just way beyond what the mind can grasp. When you're operating on the level of the energetic level, you're operating on a different level of intelligence. It isn't the conceptual intelligence of mind. This is the more visceral intelligence of the energy of life. You're tapped into the energy of life, and when you're creating the atmosphere of safety, an internal environment of safety, you're liberating life with all of its intelligence and all of its range of expression. And if it needs to get push something out, in order to free it up, well, so be it, right? The the water pushes against the rock that's damming the river, right? It pushes, it just keeps pushing, flows around, knocks it around, eventually poof, that thing goes, and what happens? Whoosh! It's going to rush crazy for a while, but eventually it'll stabilize. So so the randomness can be disheartening. Who told you that the randomness is disheartening? If you believe that, you will feel disheartened by the randomness of it, but the randomness isn't causing the disheartening. It's your belief in it that is. You believe that randomness causes disheartening. You're the cause. You're causing it, not the randomness. Can you see that? It's as if it's having no effect. That's because the mind says, well, it's supposed to do this, right? It's obviously not working, right? No, drop all your ideas as to what's supposed to happen, and just let the river take you. But buckle your seatbelt. It's quite a ride. Sarah, hey G, happy to see you in my spiritual family. And I have I sitting in the shade, and I have sunscreen on. Sarah, Sarah scolded me this morning for letting my Irish face stay out in the sun, and I am. I'm really red right now because a couple of days I did spend in the sun. So thanks, Mom. Thanks for taking care of me. Linus, happy to see your pixels. Hey, Linus. Mary says, letting go then is actually letting go of holding on to what you're afraid of. Yes. Holding on to the resistance to what you're afraid of. Holding on to the aversion to what you're afraid of. The attachment that you're afraid you might lose. All of this is what you simply take your hands off. It takes an enormous amount of energy to resist. Imagine trying to hold a beach ball underwater, right? How much energy do you have left for anything else, right? You might be able to get balanced so you can use the other hand for something new, whoa, and right? It's going to suck all your energy. But what happens if you just do this? You have complete mobility now. The beach ball poosh, pops up to the top. It may it may float towards you, bump into you a couple of times, but eventually it'll just float away, right? Because it's not you. It's not permanently attached. Look, if you can let go of something, it's not you. If you have to hold on to it, it's not you. Isn't that self-evident? If you just keep letting go and letting go and letting go and letting go, the only thing you can't let go of is you. That's Muji's invitation. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Similar to what I do in the in the meditations that I do in the morning, where we just withdraw. You're simply letting go of thought. You're letting go of emotion. You're letting go of sensation. You're letting go of memories, associations, all of that. But you can't let go of you. You find the only thing left is you. Not a conceptual you, because you can let go of that too, right? Just you. You without you. Linus says, bless your mother, Patty D. We all feel exactly the same way, Patty. Just bless her and you. Yeah. Mary says, letting go then is total acceptance. Yes. Yes. When you let go, you let it be whatever it is. You're not trying to force it to be something else, right? You just let it go and see what happens. It may make a bit of a fuss on the way out, but it will eventually leave, because it's not permanently attached. The very act, we think, I really got to get rid of this. I got to get rid of this. But the trying to get rid of this is holding on. I got to get rid of this. You're holding on tight, saying, I got to get rid of this. Open your damn hands. Oh, because you're afraid if I open the hands, it's going to, right? It's not permanently attached. Nothing's permanently attached. That's what it means by emptiness. That's Buddha nature. That's the you without you. That's I keep bringing it back and calling it you. The only thing that's attached is you, and you're not attached. You are you, and there's nothing attached to you. So holding attachments is what creates suffering. But even the holding of an attachment is perceived by that which has never held anything, which is you, the real you, not some abstract you, not somebody up there, you. Patty, oop, I know, oop, oh my goodness, this thing's dropping. I know that I'm awareness, but I've been conditioned to feel like I'm a human being. Is the awareness that I am feeling as myself present as the fundamental reality of this universe? Did you continue that later? Because I thought... I'll get the other half of that too. I feel that I'm falling slowly but surely every day more and more into nothingness. Yet everything that I am, is this normal? Also, my thoughts have become very quiet this past week, but it took 2 years for them to calm down. 2 years. Whoa, that's great. That's record time, actually, dear. I feel like I'm being pulled towards consciousness. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. I know that I'm awareness, but I've been conditioned to feel like I'm like a human being. Is the awareness that I am feeling as myself present, feeling as that I am feeling as myself present as the fundamental reality of this universe. Okay. I'm going to clear this up for you, all right? The awareness that you are has never been conditioned. Okay? Conditioning applies to the experience of life. Life is nothing but conditioned energy, but it has no self. We were taught to believe that we are our conditioning. GP was never conditioned. GP is the conditioning. Do you see that? I, conscious awareness, am not GP. GP is the name given to the conditioning. The conditioning has to happen. If it doesn't happen, well, there's nothing here. Everything is conditioning, right? This shirt is conditioned energy. The rocks behind me, the trees, everything is conditioned energy, right? Conditioning is another word for form, right? That's how energy congeals into form, right? And so energy or pure or emptiness or just formlessness congeals into form, right? All of this has taken place in front of the conscious awareness that was never conditioned by it. If you can perceive it, it can't be you. You're the ultimate perceiver. So even the conditioning and the one who believes they've been conditioned are all being perceived by the unconditioned self. Now, there is a sense I am. That sense I am, when it identifies with the conditioning, becomes the person, the ego, the false self. And then we feel the contraction, the narrowing. The whale is in the swimming pool, swimming around in circles, right? But that sense I am is what gives rise to the entire universe. It's not a mistake. And it it gets into that sense of identification in order to taste it, right? And it loses itself in it, right? You know, as if anybody's ever done art or played sports and you get into the zone, you lose yourself in it, right? Well, that's what consciousness does. It loses itself in it to have the experience, the total experience of being human. And then it comes to a point where I'm done with that. And it comes to satsang, right? Where we wake up together and realize that that's not what it is. So the awareness is not where you're going. The awareness is what you are. And the sense of going somewhere, the spiritual journey, is that sense of I divesting itself of identification, first finding itself just as the pure sense of I am, letting go of everything that it isn't, that doesn't stick, and then finally just completely collapsing into the absolute, inconceivable and imperceivable self, me. A couple other people donating. Bless your hearts, guys. Thank you very much. I'm gonna, let's see. I feel slowly. I feel I'm falling slowly but surely every day, more and more into nothingness. Yet everything that I am. Good. I'm so glad you put it that way, because a lot of people go, it's I'm going into the nothingness. Again, Neo-Advaita nonsense. It's emptiness, which, as you said, it's nothing and everything simultaneously. It is empty of any absolute characteristics, yet because of that, it gives rise to the infinite range of what is possible. All characteristics, all timelines, all possibilities, everything becomes possible because of that essential emptiness. Now, the sense of an I falling into that, isn't that being perceived by that? Are you not aware of the feeling of falling into it? So now this is very subtle, Patty, very, very subtle, because the mind is going to go, oh, I'm falling into this place, as if you're the one falling. Isn't the I that's falling and the falling and the whole experience of it going slowly but surely over 2 years, hasn't that entire thing been being witnessed by something? Isn't it being perceived? That which is perceiving it is what it's falling into. The seeking and the seeker are both being watched by the sought. That's what it really means. The I falls away, and what's left? Just you. And you've been watching it the whole time. You've been there the whole time. Knocking at the door, it opens. I've been knocking from the inside. My thoughts have become very quiet this past week, but it took 2 years. Good. Now, if they should start blabbing on again, right? The thoughts start waking up. The object of this is not quiet thoughts. Okay. If you make that the object, right, then every thought that pops up will be an enemy, and you'll get into a conflict, and you start generating more thoughts. Even the thought, even what says, I need to quiet my thoughts, is a thought, right? So it isn't about quiet thoughts. I don't think that's what you're getting at, but I want to be really sure that if for some reason all of a sudden thoughts start getting noisy again, then a thought's going to come, oh, 2 years, you're still not there. And that's just another thought. It's not true, right? Don't, don't buy that farm, right? Don't buy that bridge, right? So, so the nothingness or the emptiness that is everything is you, right? Let the I go there. This is a subtle difference between the direct path approach and the more progressive path approach, which I'm falling more slowly, becomes more nuanced, more subtle, falling slowly and slowly. The direct path is whoop, around the corner. Who's witnessing this falling slowly, right? You're already there. You're not falling into awareness. You're already there. That's the realization. You've never left there. You've never, ever left there. Again, from Nisargadatta. Having never left the house, you're asking for the way home. Is this coming clear to you, Patty? Is the door opening on this? Really, everybody. Okay, got to go back and keep track of what I did. Is letting go of fear the same thing as surrendering the fear? or surrendering to the fear, it's all the same. Surrendering is letting go. Letting go is surrendering. I am whatever's happening is happening. Probably the most poignant example of that is Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? He was not happy, right? He went off by himself to pray, right? Now, remember, there was nobody there. There was no documentalist, with the camera crew filming him. Anything we have gotten from that, he himself must have told his disciples, or they made it up, whatever it is. But whether it was made up or not, it's still incredibly poignant. He knew what he was facing. There was fear, there was terror, there was the sense that his life work could be misconstrued, that it could be lost, right? He was struggling with some heavy duty stuff, not just the fear, but just the immensity of what he was sharing, the potential of it being lost. And he said, Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. Nonetheless, not my will, but thine be done. That is the most poignant and powerful example of surrender you're ever going to find. So to let go of that fear is to simply completely surrender to what's here. And if there's fear here, there's fear here. But remember, no story. Letting go of the story, right? The story will be, oh, fear, got to get rid of the fear. Fear should go away, right? The truth is, if fear is here, the only thing it means is that fear is here. That's it. That's the only meaning. No story whatsoever. Is fear here? Fear is here. That's it. But if you let go and you let it be here, right? Eventually, everything, because it is impermanent, will pass. The only thing that doesn't pass is you. And if you can let it go, it's not you. Anthony de Mello put it beautifully. He said, enlightenment is total surrender to the inevitable. Boom. That kind of stuff sinks into the heart. Not some abstract or, arcane kind of esoteric thing, but total surrender to the inevitable. That's what Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane did. He surrendered to the inevitable. And because of that surrender, if he hadn't surrendered, we probably wouldn't know who he was now. But because he did, he is still influencing and bringing people to truth 2,000 years later, as Buddha 2,500 years later, still doing that, because he surrendered under the Bodhi tree. I'm not getting up until I have the solution to suffering. Powerful. Linus says, yes, come to Europe. Good. Help me get there. The video is better now. Oh, it comes and goes, doesn't it? Yeah, nothing I can do about that, folks. I wish I could. Sometimes the video will get pixelated, but it's just because of the quarantine. There's so much Sunday afternoon, right? All sorts of live streaming going on. Millions of people are live streaming. So it's kind of YouTube has kind of been forced to downgrade in cases. Fortunately, they're doing the video first and the audio second. So most of the time, the audio is still quite clear. Jeff, is there any way to raise a human without programming them to be separate individual suffering egos? You obviously have children, Jeff, because I can feel that that's not a theoretical question for you. At least maybe my intuition is off, but I have a feeling that it's a real thing for you. And you're not going to like my answer. The answer is no, you can't. I would no more want to take away somebody's experience from them than I would want to take away their arms. You have to realize that to be a human is to be conditioned. In order for consciousness to taste experience, it must condition itself. That's what we experience as birth, growth, transformation, and death. The only way to wake up to true Buddhahood is to experience that. And in the beginning, it is just pure undifferentiated consciousness, totally malleable, right? It has no shape, it has no form, right? And the little being just kind of conforms itself to the environment. Now, what you can do, of course, is create an environment that's safe, right? There's nothing you can do. You know, the conflict is always you keeping them safe. In order to do that, you absolutely must constrict their self-expression, right? And that's it. That's where the whole programming starts. That's where the little one has to start becoming the container. Becomes the container. It then identifies with itself in the shape of that container. And that's the fall. Now I'm the separate self. And I start living my life as a separate self. Now, if you're fortunate, you run into the Dharma, or you have a father who is immersed in the Dharma. The hardest thing there is to do is to watch it happen. I was watching my granddaughter, knowing full well there was nothing I could do about it except love her. Be totally accepting. My son gets it too. My son is very aware of this. And he does the same thing. He's totally just present and accepting and loving. That's what you can do. That fall into the sense of a separate self will persist for a while. It has to. Right? That's consciousness tasting experience. That's what it is. And we want it. Right? So then what happens? At some point in that, it can be multiple lifetimes like that, something inside starts to, like in the morning in bed, you have a little eye opener, you have to get up and go to the bathroom or something, right? Suddenly you start waking up, right? You hit the snooze alarm, you go back to sleep, but you start to wake up. And then this starts to, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, wait a minute. And then understanding begins to dawn. Oh, conditioning. I've been conditioned. Oh, wait a minute, who am I? Who is this person? And of course, would you want to rob your child from having the experience that you're having of waking up? Would you? Of course you wouldn't. Yeah. And of course, this entire experience, the suffering part of it, right? Because at first, it's for children, it's bliss most of the time. It's fun. It's happening, even as they're getting conformed, right? It really isn't until puberty and teenagehood that it starts getting heavy in the drama, and they're being forced to actually conform to an identity that works within the culture. That's where the real constriction starts to happen, right? And that's where the suffering begins to start to happen. But if you take away somebody's suffering, you take away their opportunity to wake up, because it's only the suffering that inspires us to wake up. According to the Buddhist theology, or the Buddhist view of things, at least the Tibetan view, not the Zen, the Tibetan view. There's different levels of heaven and hell and all that sort of stuff, and even Buddha's enlightenment, the heavenly beings, right? Perfect heaven. Everything was just blissful. They would just think of something and it would be manifest. What most people in this world would regard as heaven came to listen to the Dharma, because they weren't liberated. They were stuck in their own perfection. Right? According to Buddha, this place of the human being, the dirty, gritty, earthy place of the human being is the only place to awaken fully to who you really are. The gift of being born a human. Well, Buddha said it. Said the odds are greater that you, the odds are less for being born a human than to be a turtle in the middle of the ocean to surface and stick their head through a piece of flotsam. Flotsam is just like a little, floating, seaweed and stuff like that. And the odds of that one being born a human, hearing the Dharma in their lifetime, is even smaller. And the odds of somebody hearing the Dharma and actually taking it in and following the Dharma, like you are, is even smaller. To be born a human is the biggest gift that there is. And this is the way it plays out, and this is the way it has to play out. What you do is be totally loving, accepting, present, but do your parental job at the same time. Thus, you're fulfilling exactly what you're supposed to fulfill. Happy day. Awareness. I think eventually you find the guru within that guides you to the teacher that you need at the moment. Yes. And the external teachers can come and go. Right? You can be one. I do caution people to go, teacher hopping, like going shopping for a guru, to actually settle with someone long enough, knowing full well that no human being is the ultimate. There may be somebody who comes along who ends up being your last teacher, the one who eventually points you to the ultimate guru, the Sadguru, the guru within. And it's always the guru within that appears as the guru without. It's always the within you, and the one without is simply taking the form that you need to see right now, so that the pointing can get in. It just takes the shape that is the most that fits you. That's why there's a lot of different teachers and traditions and the like. They all lead to the same place eventually. So, and you eventually find it within. And in fact, you sitting here on Satsang with me is driven by the guru within. And that guru within is speaking through me. But the guru within is hearing it, right? And it is leading the sense of I. You actually are that guru. It's not something separate from you. The truth of you is the one. The one being sought is actually the one witnessing the seeking and the seeker. Right? So it's you calling the sense of I am back home, the prodigal son or daughter coming back home. John says, "Gotcha, GP. Thanks." Oh, you're very welcome, John. Sun thumb of global humanization or global hum. Oh, Santanam. Santanam. And indeed, whoops. Anja, now it's more pixels. Yes, indeed. Thank you for reminding us that even in the darkness, we're still there. Yeah, who perceives the darkness? It's so simple. Could there be darkness without you to perceive it? Could anything exist without you being there to perceive it? So this is what it means. Genuine non-duality is neither darkness nor light, for you are the perceiving of both, which means you are more subtle than both. You're beyond light and dark, up and down. You're beyond all opposites. Neither this nor that, nor both nor neither. Inconceivable, imperceivable, and yet I am. Kathleen says, liberation, yes. Realizing that is what is happening in the midst of what appears to be the opposite. Beautiful, yes. Perfect. David and Elaine, thank you, GP. Always a gem. Mary says, I've heard all this about letting go. Why am I finally understanding it now? I feel it is the teacher that has a way of getting it across more than others can. Thank you, GP. That's actually true. Um, it's also a matter of, the question manifests the answer, right? The seeker manifests the teacher, then the teacher disappears. Um, and yes, I have my way of expressing it, which for some people is exactly the right way. So, yeah, you can hear it from a bunch of people. There's only one caveat to that, and it can be a different mode of expression, but the one who's saying it must actually understand it. There are some people that kind of understand it, they get it on an intellectual level and can articulate it, but it doesn't come across because it doesn't come from here, right? So there's that element of it too. But even those people, can do a great deal and bring you to the place where they are, and then you move on to the next. Jay David, thank you for your donations in euros and in dollars. Bless you guys. Thank you so much. Jay says, yes, G, that's what I meant to ask. I realized how questioning thoughts really didn't help until the focus was shifted to what I am. Thoughts are mesmerizing at times, though. Yeah, they are. Yeah. And the only reason I talk about both, this is satsang. So I'm only concerned in turning away from thought to become intensely aware of who the thoughts are appearing to, because the thought can't exist without you there to experience it, right? I can't go out back there and find some little pool that's full of thoughts, right? They have no existence whatsoever outside of you. That's why you can come to see that they're made of consciousness, because there's not someplace outside of consciousness, like a green room where they're hanging out waiting for their cue and they come on stage, right? They spontaneously appear in consciousness, so they're made of consciousness. Everything is made of consciousness because everything you're experiencing is an image, a thought, right? So when I'm teaching on other levels, right, like inner reconciliation, especially teaching people how to coach, how to help people not suffer, right, which take this non-duality, water it down, right, and you get to a place, ways of alleviating suffering that simultaneously prepare one to 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 come to this level of an inquiry. But you're there already, right? So, and of course, within satsang, that's all we do here. That's all that's on offer, right? Right? This is a shoe store. We don't sell anything but shoes, right? This is a non-duality store. We don't sell anything but non-duality. So the so here we don't concern ourselves at all with the content of thought, right? And instead, we are completely absorbed in turning away from the thought to see the seer who is seeing the thought, to to become conscious that I am the ultimate seer. David, yes, G, we'll watch your answer. Really helpful. Seatbelt securely buckled. This approach is so counterintuitive. But when all else fails, why not try? Namaste, brother. Yes, yes, indeed. It's yeah, it is counterintuitive. It's actually quite intuitive. It is counter-conventional wisdom, right? Which is the basis on which the self-help and personal development and even a lot of spiritual practices. It's all this kind of this development of the and refining and nuancing of the person. Um, the idea of actually totally being with your deepest fear rather than trying to get away from it does run contrary to with the nervous system. That's what fear is: run away, right? So, but the only way you're going to find out if the fear, now, if you're being chased by a bear, I do not recommend you turn around and face your fear. I say, let fear do what it was designed to do and get your ass away from that bear. Right? Right. But that's not the problem. The problem is that same fear is being triggered by imaginary demons, imaginary bears. And the only way to find out that they're actually imaginary is to turn towards them. Right. And then you find out, my God, it was a paper tiger. There was nothing there. And boy, it's liberating. Ice Phoenix. Oh, wow. Ice Phoenix with a capital X. You're new. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. What influence does our zodiac sign have on our true self? I think some of our characters come from our natal chart. Many scientists also say we don't have free will. What do you think? Well, I I like, the whole astrological thing. First off, the influence our sign has on our true self. I want to make a clear distinction, and I can speak with some authority on this. I am not an astrologer, but I was married to a woman who was, and she was not the average one. She was a world-class one. She had a TV show. She consulted with two of the presidents of her country consulted with her while in office. That's how much respect she had. And we had long conversations about this. The name of her TV show it was in Liberdad de Destino, u Destino, which is freedom or destiny. And it was the question, that she got all the time about free will. Am I stuck with my chart? And she eventually stopped doing those kinds of sessions because everybody wanted her to predict the future, and she wasn't, wearing purple robes and this hat. She was actually also a teacher of Tantra and all sorts of other things. Still have a lot of respect for her. Didn't work as a marriage after a while, but we still have a lot of respect for each other. So we had some nice conversations about that, and it was uncanny. She would do my chart, and other people. It was uncanny. She saw all sorts of things in my life that nobody ever knew about. And she pointed out, oh, your mother had a miscarriage before your sister was born. I never told anybody about that, but she saw the whole thing in the chart. Here's how she explained it. And I think it's a very powerful way of doing it. She used it as a model for archetypes, that the various signs and stuff represented archetypes. I do exactly the same thing when I teach the chakras. I teach them as archetypes. They're aspects of you. They're not influencing you. So the natal chart is not the stars were in this order, so they're controlling your life. You born at this time, an image of yourself is projected into the sky. It represents. So it's representational, not causative. It's reflective, not causal. So here's what she would say. If you are unconscious, if nothing wakes up, she can tell you exactly what's going to happen in your life because it is destined, because you're not conscious. If you're not conscious, you're just the conditioning, it's the programming, it's the robotic pattern. The pattern will fulfill itself, and it's totally predictable. And there are many psychologists who'll tell you the same thing. If, though, awakening begins to occur, and you begin to see beyond your conditioning, to see that you are not your conditioning, all bets are off. It can there's some little guidance here and there for the places you're not conscious, but when you become conscious, you have transcended the chart. Right? Does that help? So on one level, it can be useful. I also, a good friend of her was this palm reader. She read my palm, also uncanny. I mean, I have no idea. It was really intuitive. It was just kind of a place where they would start, and then intuition would take over. So as far as free will is concerned, when you are completely identified with your conditioning, no, you don't. You're a robot, right? As long as you believe that voice in your head is you, right? You will think you are choosing, but you're not, right? Then something happens. A little bit of awakening takes place, and a certain amount of choosing takes place. Suddenly, oh, I can choose whether or not I'm going to act according to my conditioning or not. And that's another phase. And at that phase, there is a sense of free will. It's not really free will, but really is a discernment has arise. We're beginning to be able to distinguish between that which is natural to me, my real inclinations, and that which is just the conditioning I was forced into. And then you can go a little bit further. And in this kind of a non-dual inquiry, you look all the way. You follow every choice you make down to where it came from. The first moment that choice appeared, the whole thing, this going this way, want to go this way, and suddenly you find that while a choosing thought appears, when you go prior to that, there's no chooser. You can't find yourself sitting there choosing. Suddenly a choosing thought appears. And then it's not that you don't have free will. You have gone from no free will to transcending free will, to beyond liberty, liberdade o destino, liberty or freedom or destiny. Is that clear? Right? So these are stages of growth, and the transcendent isn't the absence of free will, it is the transcending of it. And when something is transcended, it subsumes what is lower, right? So it's not lost, right? And the net effect of that is in your human life, you have freedom. You have total freedom, right? Because you're not tied to anything, because there's no conditioning. There's no conditioning left. But you also recognize that what's being chosen is not the act of will, but the spontaneous arising of your nature as the self. Clear? Ice Phoenix? The capital X? Nice name, too. Ice Phoenix. Beautiful image, right? So many artists out there should draw that. You picture the phoenix rising from the ashes, but yeah, ice. Beautiful. Wow, like it. Mary says, where are you? This is a very in-depth teaching, GP. I'm so appreciating this. Such freedom is being seen. Wonderful. It's the deepest teaching, right? I mean, there's no place deeper than I. That's the revelation. It's stunning. It's just stunning. You go, oh, it's me. Oh my God, it's me. It's me. I. Is there anything more fundamental to you than I? Can you go beyond I? Is there somewhere other than I? Right? I'm going to keep pounding this into you. At some point, I'm going to get a nice. Oh my God, Robert, IGP. When can our thoughts be trusted, if ever? Don't they surface for a reason? And if we push down, they continue. ... Somewhere else here, Robert? No, okay. If we push down, they continue. If a thought, okay, when we're identified with our conditioning, thoughts are a problem, right? Because we can't tell the difference between what's a good thought, what's a wrong thought. But as the conditioning subsides and we're more ourselves, the mind starts to become our friend, a servant, right? And then thoughts aren't trusted, but what thoughts represent are trusted. You begin to see that thoughts are simply a symbolic representation, right? And you clearly discern when a thought is pointing back to the sense of a separate self, or if it's pointing back to the true self. At that point, your capacity for discernment means you don't have to worry about whether a thought can be traced. You instantly can see which thoughts, which are useful, which aren't, what's beautiful, what's not, what's valuable, what isn't valuable, what's loving, what's not loving, right? That's our power of discernment, your inner sage, which everyone has. And they surface for a reason. That is, they surface as of a cause, but that cause may not be true, right? And of course, don't push any thought down. And the best way, when you're in that state of allowing, right, the arising of any thought is not a problem. So you let it arise. Oh, there's a thought. Yay. Now what? Nothing. Now what? Nothing. There's just a thought. And then if it has a use for you, you put it to use. If not, no big deal, because it all revolves around you. So I got to, over my time here, over the time, I set the time, right? So there's no over or not. But after 2 hours, I begin to try to look towards how I'm going to kind of reel it in a bit. Um, Jeff says, knock, knock, who's here? I am. I am who? It's a good answer. It helps me forgive the conditions and conditioning that got me here. Makes it easier to let go. Yeah, it had to happen, right? There are no mistakes. We were never meant to stay in Eden. You're supposed to eat the fruit. That was the whole point. You know, God's walking in the garden going, Adam, where are you? Did you eat the fruit of the tree? As if he didn't know. I mean, it's God, for crying out loud. Right? As if he didn't know exactly what was going to happen. This is what's supposed to happen. This is the way it works. This is the game. This is the divine Leela. And your job, you've been thrown in the middle of the labyrinth. Find your way out. You can either complain or go, wow, what a great mystery. What a great wonder. I get to rediscover who I am. Who am I? What matters more? And then all of this becomes play. And not necessarily play like a child, right? It can be like a Shakespeare play, right? where the last scene is the stage is littered with bodies, right? Or a Rambo movie or something, right? But it is a play, and you're just kind of no longer the character in it any longer. Jay's, are you still hitting the weights, G? You know what? Where I lived, I haven't, because I didn't have weights, and the gyms are all shut down. But just happened that the woman I'm staying with, she has a barn because she has a couple of horses, and there was this old set of weights there. I have them over there. Yesterday, I started doing a little bit of weights again. Oh, feels good. Yeah, feels good. Keep this old body in shape. Mary says, so are we like seeds that need to be planted into our conditioning, like on Earth, in order to grow? That's a nice metaphor for it. But the seed that's planted, the seed is within itself, that says in the body. The seed that's planting is the sense I am. And you, the ultimate, were never planted. You are the space in which even the earth and the garden are growing. So mine is GP is ripped. Actually, I got a little bit of a gut going on here, but I have liked working out with weights. There have been times when I have been, right. It's a lot harder at 68, when I got really became a gym rat for a while by about age about 39. I was actually down to like 10% body fat. I actually was ripped. It was fun for a while. You can't maintain that forever. You just cannot maintain that. I was split work twice a day, and the food and everything. It was fun. It was fun for a bit. I'd gotten divorced. True story. Just to humanize this whole thing, I had gotten divorced. I was 36, and I caught a look of myself in a mirror one day, and I looked horrible. I was reflective. My marriage was horrible, and I was overweight. I was a big dump. I was dumpy. I'm like, you're too young to be dumpy. And I got seriously, and I was never athletic, never my entire life. I got serious. I became a serious gym rat. I did that, accomplished it. And I started to relax, let myself do a few more things. So it's very funny. Truth Loops. I love that name. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Blessings, G. Yes, it is. And in fact, a dear friend of mine, Kelly Fisher, and he is a martial artist, teaches meditation, student of mine, much younger than me. But but he's a hypnotherapist. So he and we're going to do, to help with the whole quarantine thing. He and I are going to do something together because I have no problem with therapeutic techniques. I use EFT, EFT. I just and hypnotherapy, NLP. Another really dear friend of mine runs the biggest NLP school in Europe. It's he's I don't remember the name of the town, but it's south of Munich in Bavaria. Mark Pletzer is his name. If you had an interest in learning NLP, he's the guy I'd send it to. I would not take NLP from anybody but him. Right. But anyway, these are all very great techniques for helping us lead a better, more functional life. None of them will lead you to awakening, but they all have their place along the road. Remember, we're here to alleviate suffering. Truth Loop says, within each one is an alarm clock to awaken us from sleep. And it's up to us to hit the snooze, to not hit the snooze. Yes, that's correct. But eventually you see, and it's beautiful, the seeker and the seeking are both being witnessed by the sought. And you'll see that the one who's hitting the snooze button is also being perceived, right? And that the ultimate awareness that you are was never asleep. Awakeness wakes up to its own awakeness. And that is the wonder. You're not the guy in the dream. The guy in the dream doesn't wake up. And let's see. Sean. Hello, Sean. It says hello. Hello to you. Oops. Jeff. Or the seeker. Oops. There's the other half I didn't see before. It's like the question is a manifestation and an affirmation of the knowing. Yes. Yeah, the knowing's always there. What's known can't really be voiced, but can be spoken of in various forms. Questions, answers. Yes, poetry. That's the purpose of art. Right? That's the purpose of art, to give expression to the inexpressible. I mean, that's art, right? I mean, it's fantastic. And everybody should have art. And I don't just mean the fine arts, but I mean anything you do, the way you decorate your house, the way you dress, the things you choose to do. Everything is the smile of the Great Spirit, the way the Native Americans put it. Everything you do is a manifestation of that, and you are that. Ice Phoenix says, thanks, GP. Very good answer. Good. Glad you got that. Yeah. It's really important because you'll hear some non-dual teachers just say, they very dismissive. They're not real non-dual teachers. That's the Neo-Advaita. Very dismissive of things. Everything has its place. Just the kind of non-dual inquiry, this center place, this place that is not a place, this position that is no position, the pure emptiness, the pure shunyata is the ultimate. Everything leads to here. In satsang, that's what we concern ourselves with there. But there are times, as in private sessions, when I'll just work with people with EFT and things like that. Sometimes it'll be purely about non-duality, right? So, and I am available for private sessions. That's also another way in which I keep the lights on, by the way. So if any of you are interested in a private session, there it is. That's how you get to it. And we're actually working on a new scheduler and everything, so it gets new. But I get several a week, and it really has made a difference. It's one of the things that helped me buy the new equipment. Jay says, a little off topic, but referencing back to weights, I remember reading somewhere where Vivekananda got off a train and somebody on the platform noticed this person in saffron clothes look built. Yeah, Vivekananda. Yeah, there are several people. I know that I can't remember. Swami Rama, when he was younger, was totally into that as well. So it's just, I like it. It feels good. I use my body. I like to do some yoga too, but I really like weights. Just kind of my thing. And I never had that kind of yogic body that could do that kind of stuff. Never, even when I was young. It's kind of more of the, the Irish, the Irish beast of burden body, right? Carry lots of stuff, carry the wood, chop wood, carry the water. Ava, dear G, you're leading so tirelessly and effectively from darkness to light. wherein my feeling water becomes wine. The great teacher, inner great teacher can do that. Thank you. Thank you, Ava. Beautiful. Hi, sir. Invited talk about, it was Jay. Sorry, Jay. Didn't mention your name. Oneness. My understanding is there an experiencer and experience, and I am experiencer or witness. How to see that there is experiencer and experiencing are one? Beautiful question, Jay. Let me point you in the direction. Um, the whole oneness thing, people kind of get on that boat and try to figure it out with their heads. Look at it this way. Let's just start with thoughts. Okay, that's a good place, right? Because thoughts are ephemeral. It's obvious that when I have a thought, right, if I look, I see that the thought wasn't sitting somewhere, right? It wasn't an entity in and of itself, some kind of an object waiting somewhere, right? And then popped into view, right? And then pops out of my view and goes somewhere. Like, if some animal walked past me, like earlier, a cat walked by, right? Actually, Romeo, the cat lives here, walked by. And, we know he's a cat, so he was over there and then he went off screen over there. But look at your thoughts. They're not like that. They are spontaneously arising, aren't they? So then what are they made of? What's the substance out of which the thought arises? Well, clearly, the substance out of which it arises is the consciousness that's beholding it, because it couldn't exist anywhere else. So your perceiving of it is the substance of it. The perceiving and the it are the same. So you are one with what you are experiencing. Right? Now, it's important in that oneness, the emphasis on in Advaita not to is starts with what I'm not. And that isn't because you're not one with everything. It's because in order to genuinely experience that oneness as one and not as just two trying to be one, you first must divest yourself of all identification with what you are not. Right? Okay, I am not my thoughts. I am not my body. I am not my sensations. And then the realization as to who you are happens. Now, at that point, the attention turns back around. And in the realization, well, this is all still here. The body's still here. Thoughts are still here. Rocks are still here. It's still raining. What is all this? And suddenly, the actual substance of experience starts to become clear. That everything is experienced through the medium of perception. You could look at it, this is even understood neurologically. If you looked at it from the point of view of a body brain thing, right, which will transcend, but to the way in which the neurology actually works, you never experience anything out there. The assumption is that it's out there, that there's this complex process where a light strikes, bounces off, parts of it bounce off, parts of it are absorbed, it gets into your eye, the eye then goes through all these kinds of things, and what you actually experience is an image in the head. The assumption is that image you are experiencing is in a head that's in a world, and that world exists independently of you, and that the image you're experiencing is a very good representation of what's actually out there. Now, as you inquire more deeply, you begin to discover, is it really out there? And if it isn't, of what is this experience made? Well, at that point, the only thing left is the consciousness that you've already realized has no limits, no boundaries. And so now what you're experiencing is being experienced by pure awareness, is completely happening within pure awareness and is made of pure awareness. And that's the actual oneness. But don't jump to there. Take your time. Keep coming with me back to the place where there is nothing but you. And then we'll be able to turn around and take everything into the great heart. Jay says, right, sir, I keep the awareness on mostly that I'm not any kind of experience. Yes, that's where you stay there, right? And keep going. Okay, I'm not that. Well, then what am I? Right? Keep turning the attention away from everything until you're it's like you're trying to see yourself looking, which of course you can't do because you're not two, you're one. And if you keep doing that, you've pushed attention to the edge. You are at the edge of the mind. Yeah. The inquiry cannot go any further. At that point, you're knocking at the door, right? And it's pure grace from this moment on. Realization will simply happen. It is me. I am that. Liza says, thank you, G. Blessings. Mary says, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that, Jay. Beautiful. You're doing it exactly correctly. Jay says, I love how our 2-year-old son is empathetic to both his parents. Loving child. Hopefully that continues. It will, because he's responding to you. I'm going to change this over my banners. Those of you who would like to help help keep all this going, I always kind of pass the hat at the end of satsang. As long as you're empathetic, if you're noticing that your child is empathetic, he's reflecting you. He's responding to the environment in which you're in. Now, you may have a particular gift, be empathic, right? Maybe sensitive to other people, in which case, be very, very tender and gentle with him. Be very, and help him. But of course, he's going to get beat up, especially when it's puberty. That's just the way it is. So all you can do is be the safe space. See, if you're the safe space, he internalizes the safe space and becomes a safe space for himself. That's the way it works. Right? When the child, there's no such thing as a spoiled child, only spoiled parents, right? If the child is really treated well, they internalize that and treat themselves well. Right? So he's reflecting you, Jay. So same to you, Jay Segal. Truth Loops, amazing answer. Thank you for addressing it. Good. Thank you, sir. Sarah, have a great weekend. Sarah in France. See you next week. Great satsang. Such good questions and answers. Yeah, wasn't it? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful questions. I love you guys. All right. Until next time. Remember. It's who you are. No matter what happens, you can always ask yourself the question. And this is right from Ramana Maharshi, greatest sage of the 20th century. Whatever's happening, you can ask, to whom is this experience occurring? To whom is this? Who's witnessing this? And it will bring you right back to the witness. And that witness is the doorway to the absolute. Till next week, guys. Namaste.